today, and all of you probably know that he is the former mayor of the city of McKinney, and we're so happy that you came south. We hope you do it often. We have lots of good shopping and restaurants. Have you noticed?
I got a story about that. Steve Carroll's not here.
Well, you just, no, he's not. But you just come on down,
I ride
spend
my
your
bicycle
money
down.
anytime you want to. Oh, well, listen, if you're riding your bicycle now, and there's a requirement that you stop and at least buy water.
Oh, okay.
So keep that in mind.
I will.
Anyway, I'm going to get out of your way and let you get this started.
Great, thank you.
Let's welcome the former.
Yeah, I used to tell Steve that, when I was mayor and on council before that, we used to get complaints about the lack of retail in McKinney. Imagine that. And I said, we can fix that. We just need to annex part of Allen into McKinney.
No, it was Fairview you were going to get.
Well, we take that whole swath and, and it worked out really great. And then we have those sales tax dollars. So anyway, I appreciate being here. You allow me to be here. I'm here to talk about the exciting topic of roads and transportation and give you a little bit of an update on where we are and what we're doing as far as this upcoming bond election that we're going to have on November 6th. And this is a very important bond election, and I know that there's a lot of things that have been out in the media lately about projects and what projects might be built. But I think what's really important here is not to focus specifically on the projects, but focus on the issue and the problem and the long-term solutions that come with that, because quite frankly, like any other issue or any other problem, you have to start somewhere. And where we're going to start is with a $750 million bond election on November the 6th. So why? Well, that's a good question. If you drove down here, I thought about staying here last night just so I could get here in time, but but actually, Actually, I drove back roads. I drove Lake Forest to Waters to Bethany and got here in 15 minutes. It was great. But we do have a congestion issue, obviously, and all of that is based on this great growth that we're having in Collin County that we're going to continue to experience really for the next 10 to 20 years. And as you all, some of this stuff you all know. Collin County's been one of the fastest growing counties in the country for a number of years. All of our cities have been the fastest growing cities. We have 60 new residents every day moving into the area. 2017 population was just under 1 million. We're anticipated to be over 1 million, and we're at basically 900,000 vehicles in 2016 vehicle registration. Single family home permits are up, and this is, I witnessed it in McKinney every year. Even during the time that we were going through the recession, we still had growth. While everybody else was in a decline. I don't know what Allen's statistics were at the time, but McKinney, we were still growing at 2% versus 12 to 17%. So people are still going to move here, even in a down economy. The charts I have here they really illustrate the issue and what we're facing as we go forward over the next 20, 30, 40 years. And this is in conjunction also with what's going on regionally with the Regional Transportation Commission. They just came out with their Mobility 2045 plan. And while they're dealing with multiple counties in addition to Collin County, obviously there are a lot of projects in Collin County that are going to be necessary as part of that plan. This chart, what this illustrates, quite frankly, is that as our growth projections continue, ultimately Collin County will have a larger population base than you have in Dallas or Tarrant County or Denton County. So when you put that in perspective and you look at the, which I'll show a slide later on, what the Dallas County system looked like back in the 1950s as they were planning for the growth versus what the Collin County system looks like today. With this anticipated growth, we're obviously very far behind in terms of overall transportation needs. So, you hear a lot of different numbers as to where Collin County will end up. Demographers are currently saying that we will have a population in excess of 3 million people. When fully developed, I know McKinney's going to be somewhere around 400,000. Frisco's going to be somewhere around 400,000. Plano right now, I think, is somewhere around 265, 275. All the cities are growing, and that number will happen. But I think what's not included in this slide, which I think is also very important, is the daytime traffic that doesn't necessarily live within these communities. For example, when you look at what's happened on the Dallas North Tollway, with all the corporate development that's happened there, you have 60,000 people a day that are driving into a section that's literally maybe a quarter of a mile of roadway. And they're coming from all over. So I think it's something that obviously we focus on the population base that lives here now, but we also have to focus on who will be driving here. People are going to be driving into Allen from Dallas to go to work. They're going to be driving into McKinney from Grayson County. They're going to be driving from the west side of traveling east on the 121 to go to work, if we fully develop the cities in the way that we want to develop them from a corporate standpoint. This is just a density map from COG. It shows 2020 density, and then when you look at what it's going to look at on the build out, this is the new map. So try to figure out where you're going to drive within that, under the current system that we have. You know, if anybody that wants to do some bicycle training, I got another job, because that might be a faster mode of transportation if we don't do something. And again, these are just statistics that we have that were part of the 2045 plan that show vehicle miles traveled in 2018 versus 2045. And as you can see, you know, the impact of this is the length, you know, the increase in travel time. How long will it take you to get from point A to point B? And that is significant. Again, congestion maps, and the importance of this also, and I know there's some engineers in the room and people that deal with, I'm pointing at y'all, that deal with traffic issues and traffic modeling. And, you know, in the traffic modeling sense, effectively what's going to happen as you look at these maps and look at the change for 2045, the roads that you're driving on today that quite frankly aren't even rated A, B, or, you know, you're looking at a D rating. These roads are all going to have an F rating by the time you get to 2045 if you don't have expansion of your transportation system. And you know, that's what we're faced with. So the Collin County Mobility Plan 2014 update indicates that, like I said, we're going to have level service F on these roads. And so obviously the planning needs to happen now. And ultimately, there's three elements of this bond election. I'm going to talk mainly about the first two. The first part of the first proposition bond election is a $600 million item for limited access roadway systems or freeways. Now the reality is $600 million is not going to buy a lot, but you know, it's what do you have to do in the process of building a road, building a freeway. You start with your right-of-way acquisition, you have utility relocation, you have a number of things that have to happen, design, engineering that all take place before you actually start construction, and those things have to happen, and they do cost a lot of money. The other thing that is important about this bond election that we're going to really be focusing on is the leveraging of dollars. You know, most projects that are built, whether it's a freeway or a regional arterial or even a local road, will have some matching component as part of that from another source. And if it's a TxDOT project, you're going to get dollars from TxDOT, you can get dollars from the RTC, but in every one of those situations, ultimately the dollars you get are going to be in part based on what the local contribution might be. And then not only in terms of doing the project, but also in terms of developing a priority. If you have a community that's willing to invest money in a road project, you know, your project's going to move up. And when you're talking about dollars, for example, with the Regional Transportation Commission, I served on that for McKinney. Steve Terrell's been there for Allen. You know, you're sitting there with 46 other people from different communities, Denton County, Tarrant County, Dallas County, all have projects and to them, those projects are their number one priority, and that's what you're competing for. So if you have the ability to go to COG and say, hey, if you will advance expansion, whatever the project on Bethany Road, we will contribute, $10 million, whatever the number is, you have a chance of that project moving up ahead of another community that might not have the resources to provide those matching funds. This is the map I was talking about. If you look at Dallas County in 1950s, 614,000 people. They already had, in terms of a projected map for freeways, designed back at that point in time. And, good for them. Forward thinking Dallas County in 1957. I wasn't quite here yet, but that's okay. And again, this is just to show you a comparison of that freeway system in Dallas. And then when you look up in the upper right-hand corner in the area that looks like there are no roads, that would be Collin County. But again, this is just to put in context what the issue is and what we're trying to correct. What the county has done so far, 2000, they added the Outer Loop project as a future project. So what do we really need in the North Texas region? 2045 estimated regional need, $390 billion in projects. Regional revenue, $51 billion. Shortfall in the region, $339 billion. This is all of North Texas. The estimate of the county need, $12.6 billion. The information that we've been given as a committee is that ultimately, if you took all of the projects that are necessary in Collin County right now, it's north of $11 billion, and with the money that's been allocated through the Mobility 2045 plan and other resources, there's about a $2.8 billion shortfall in terms, and that's taking the project all the way to construction. And so again, as I previously stated, we're looking at partnerships and we're looking at funds that we can access to develop those partnerships. I've already had conversations with Michael Morris about this, and again, not to get into specific projects, but for example, right now in Collin County alone, they have earmarked about $1 billion of funding for projects in Collin County that are on the 2045 mobility plan, that obviously some of those projects can be advanced with the assistance of this bond money that we're asking the voters to vote for. So I've already mentioned $600 million for non-toll freeways, $140 million for thoroughfares. Thoroughfares are your local roads, regional roads, 4-lane arterials, 6-lane arterials. And this again is just a slide to talk about what the $600 million gets you. And what the county is proposing at this point is this bond election will be a bond election that they hope will get them through the next 5 years. So we're going to go through 5 years of essentially design, alignment, all the things that need to be done, right-of-way acquisition, to lead towards the ability to start construction of main lanes and service roads. These are the pre-construction tasks. And they've set out a timeline down below 2019 and 2023 for the pre-construction task, and then beginning in 2024 for construction. That's pretty much self-explanatory. As far as the thoroughfare projects, just to give you an idea how that works with the $140 million, essentially what the county will be doing is having the cities submit projects that are priorities for the cities within Collin County, and they're anticipating having a call for projects on an annual basis, and then they will ultimately make a determination based on shovel readiness of a project as to the funds that will go towards those projects. So with that second proposition, you will probably see construction dollars at a much earlier rate. There is also a small amount of, I say small, it's $10 million of the bond election that's for open space development. And again, this is nothing new to the county. For those that have participated in the past, the county has always had some amount of money available for parks and open space projects within the county that cities will partner with them for development of parks and open space, and they're just going to continue that plan with the third bond initiative for $10 million. Those are the three bond initiatives. They are, it says non-tolled. Obviously, tollway construction is a hot topic, and the county, by policy, will be using that money for freeways that will not be tolled. The passing of this bond election will not increase the tax rate for the county. The county's debt service tax rate will remain what it is, so there's no impact there. And that's the presentation. But again, I think what's important here is, and I'm going to be saying this a lot to a lot of different groups. I think if you start focusing on individual projects, you hear a lot about 380, you hear a lot about 78, you hear a lot about what happens with 75 as you get south of 121, or what are we going to do about the outer loop. When you start focusing on individual projects, you lose sight of the bigger issue, which is we have a major transportation issue here in Collin County, and if you go look at that Mobility 2045 plan, it's 75 pages long, and I printed off the projects just in Collin County, and just on one section, since I'm here in Allen, under asset optimization summary, you have 5 projects along Exchange Parkway, Bethany, Spring Creek Parkway, down to 15th Street in Plano, all the way down to George Bush in Plano, that total cost $45 million just on those projects alone. So there are a number of needs in this community. $750 million is a start. We have to do our share to show the regional players that we're ready to come to the table and make sure that these roads are built. And quite frankly, if we don't, we're going to be facing gridlock for a long time, because growth's going to keep coming, and because these are all great communities to live in. So appreciated your support. What we're asking for at this point is support for the program from the various organizations, but also getting out and talking to people about the importance of this. It's really hard to get people excited about right-of-way and design and engineering. They want to see the project. Don't throw anything at me. But I have 2 sons that are both engineering students. One just graduated. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, because I'm not. But it is hard to get people excited about that. But just looking at the map and looking at where we are, we're realistically 10 to 15 years behind where we probably need to be. And I'm really excited that the county is stepping up and at least starting with a plan and moving forward with that plan. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you said that we have a $2 billion shortfall in just the 2045 amount of roads. If any of those freeways were tolled, would that cover that shortfall?
I don't know. I mean, there's different financing methods that come off of, just to give you an example, when 121 was tolled and built, a portion of the funds, the regional toll revenue off that helped with the construction of the expansion of 75 through McKinney. But obviously it's not enough necessarily just in and of itself to cover that cost. I think back at the time, for example, the interchange at 121 and 75 was about a $350 million project. So it's hard to say whether that covers that shortfall. And I think, again, when you're looking at a shortfall, also you're looking at project to completion. And this is based on where we are today, and so I think it's going to be a combination of bonding over time from different entities, and you know, I think the issue with tollways, quite frankly, is that it's the balance of where those systems are built. And the negative comment as it relates to Collin County is if you have roads that are being built